Welcome back, beautiful souls. I'm Danielle from Gaia Sanctorum. And if you watched my first video, you know that I came to clinical herbalism in a very different way than most practitioners. I spent decades developing a relationship with plants and understanding food as medicine before I ever opened up a textbook. Today, I want to share with you the framework that has become the cornerstone of how I work with every single client who walks through my door. Whether they're dealing with chronic pain, anxiety, digestive issues, or just feeling spiritually lost. This is the five bodies framework. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that understanding this framework can completely transform how you approach your own healing journey. Because here's what I've learned in over 30 years of this work. Most people are treating symptoms in one body while the root cause lives in another. And that's why nothing seems to work long term. Let me paint you a picture. Someone comes to me with chronic migraines. They've seen doctors, tried medications, changed their diet, done all the elimination protocols. Maybe they've even worked with herbalists who gave them feverfew and butterbur. And sometimes it helps for a little while, but the migraines just keep coming back. Why? Because we're treating the physical body only. We're looking at inflammation, at triggers, at vascular constriction. And yes, those things are important and they matter, and I'm absolutely going to address them. But what if the root cause isn't physical at all? What if those migraines are your energetic body screaming at you that your boundaries are being violated? What if your mental body is overwhelmed by relentless thought patterns? What if there's your spiritual body rebelling against a life path that isn't aligned with your soul's purpose? This is where conventional medicine and even a lot of alternative medicine falls short. We're trained to see the body as primarily physical, maybe with some mental and emotional components thrown in if you're being progressive. But you're not just a physical body having occasional thoughts and feelings. You're a physical body, a physical being, a mental being, an emotional being, an energetic being, and a spiritual soul being all at once, all the time. And they're all interconnected. And until we assess and address all five bodies, we're only seeing part of the picture. So let me break down what the five bodies framework actually is. And then I'm going to show you exactly how it works in real life. So the first one is obviously the physical body. This is what most of us think of as the body. It's your tissues, your organ systems, your constitution, your genetic predispositions, your microbiome. This is where we look at symptoms, at lab work, at physical manifestations of imbalance. Next, we have the mental body, your thoughts, your belief systems, your cognitive patterns, the stories you tell yourself, your relationship with information, with learning, with understanding your world. This isn't just thinking positive. This is the actual architecture of how your mind processes reality. Third would be the emotional body, how you feel, how you process feelings, how you've learned to suppress or express your emotion, your emotional wounds, your triggers, your capacity for emotional regulation, the anger that you've never let yourself feel. Then you have the energetic body, and this is where a lot of Western trained practitioners lose the thread. But if you've ever worked with things like acupuncture, Reiki, energy medicine, you know that this is real. Your ki, your prana, your life force, your energetic boundaries, your chakras, your auric field, how energy moves or doesn't move through your system. And lastly, we have the spiritual body, your connection to something greater than yourself, however you define that. Your life's purpose, your soul contracts, your karmic patterns, ancestral trauma you're carrying, the spiritual initiations you're moving through, your relationship with the divine, with nature, and with mystery. Here's the crucial part. These bodies don't operate independently. They're constantly influencing each other. A physical illness can cause mental despair. A mental obsession can deplete your energetic reserves. Your emotional suppression can manifest as physical disease. Spiritual disconnection can show up as depression. And energetic boundary violations can trigger autoimmune responses. It's all connected and it's all one system. So, how the framework actually works in practice. Um, it looks like this. So when someone comes to work with me and they fill out what I call my constitutional assessment, and yes, it's extremely thorough. We're talking it's about 140 questions that cover all 5 bodies because I need to see the whole picture. So as far as the physical body goes, we're going to look at your constitutional type. Are you hot or cold, damp or dry, tense or relaxed? What's your digestion like? Your sleep, your energy patterns throughout the day. What symptoms are you experiencing and where? What's your health history? What's your family health history? What does your tongue look like? Your nails, your skin? This gives me the physical roadmap, but it's just the beginning. Next comes the mental body assessment. So this is things like, how do you process stress? What are your dominant thought patterns? Do you tend toward anxiety or depression or both? Are you an overthinker, ruminating on the same thoughts over and over again? I don't know about anybody else, but I have been on that hamster wheel. What are your core beliefs about health, about your body, about healing? What stories are you telling yourself about why you're sick and why you can't get better? Because I can give you all the nervines in the world. But if your mental body is running a program that says, I'm broken, I'm unfixable, then I can give you all the things in the world, but we're not going to get very far. Third would be your emotional body assessment. So this is things like, what emotions do you feel easily and which ones do you suppress? Where in your body are you holding on to those emotions? What's your relationship with anger, with grief, with joy? Have you experienced trauma? And if so, how have you processed it or not processed it? What emotional patterns did you learn in childhood that you're still running? This is where we often find the key. That chronic neck tension very possibly could be unexpressed anger. That digestive issue could be grief you've never allowed yourself to fully feel. Your body keeps the score, and your emotional body will manifest physically if it's not being heard. Fourth would be your energetic body. So, this is where I bring in medical astrology and intuitive assessment. What is your energetic constitution according to your chart? Where are you energetically depleted or excessive? Do you have strong boundaries? Are you energetically porous, taking on everybody else's stuff? Are your chakras balanced or is there a blockage or a depletion? How does energy feel in your body? Do you even notice it? Or are you completely disconnected from that level of awareness? For a lot of people, this tends to be the missing piece. They've never even considered that they might be energetically depleted or that their solar plexus is completely blocked or that they're so energetically open, they're absorbing everybody's emotions, right? Lastly, would be the spiritual assessment. So, this is things like, do you have a spiritual practice? What's your relationship with the divine, with nature, with something greater than yourself, higher power, call it God, call it universe, source, whatever you want to call it? Do you feel like you have a sense of purpose or are you lost? Are there patterns in your life that feel karmic, like you're reliving the same lesson over and over? Um, what ancestral patterns might you be carrying? Are you going through a spiritual initiation or a dark night of the soul? This is the deepest level. And sometimes what looks like depression is actually a spiritual crisis. What looks like chronic illness is actually your soul refusing to live a life that's not aligned with your purpose. This is the magical part about this approach. When I started looking at all 5 bodies together, patterns start to emerge, patterns that would otherwise ordinarily be invisible. If I looked at only 1 or 2, I start to see a thread that connects everything. That client with chronic fatigue, yeah, their adrenals are depleted. That's physical. But they're also running perfectionist thought patterns that's mental, suppressing anger at their demanding job. That's emotional. Energetically giving away everything to others with no boundaries, which is energetic. And spiritually disconnected from any sense of purpose or meaning, and that's in the spiritual body. Now I can create a protocol that addresses all of it, not just adaptogens for the adrenals, but nervous system support, emotional processing work, boundary setting practices, energy work, reconnection to the spiritual purpose. And that's how you get real lasting healing, not just symptom management, but actual transformation. So I'm going to take the time to tell you about a client of mine. We're going to call him James. When James came to me, he was 43 years old and his body was falling apart. Type 2 diabetes, stage 3 kidney disease, uh, SIBO, diverticulitis, chronic candida. His digestive system was a war zone. We started where most herbalists would start: basic digestive herbs, anti-inflammatory protocols, dietary changes, and we saw some improvement, but it was slow and inconsistent. Then James made a decision. He got a gastric sleeve surgery, and instead of things getting better, everything got worse. His digestive issues multiplied. The surgical intervention that was supposed to help him lose weight and manage his diabetes created a cascade of other new problems. And that's when we ran the full 5 bodies assessment. And here's what we discovered. So physically, yes, all those diagnoses were real. His body was inflamed. His gut microbiome was devastated. His blood sugar was dysregulated. And when we looked at his mental body, we also found relentless ruminating thoughts, catastrophic thinking patterns, an inability to quiet his mind enough to sleep well. His emotional body revealed a history of severe childhood trauma that he had never really processed. Trauma that he tried to escape through drug addiction in his younger years, trauma that left him with crippling anxiety and the need to control everything and everyone around him, holding people to unreasonable standards as a way to manage his own inner chaos. Energetically, through his astrological chart and the intuitive assessment, we could see clear markers of this trauma imprinted on his energy body: blockages, depletions, patterns of giving his power away and then trying to control outcomes to get it back. And spiritually, James was just exhausted at a soul level, completely feeling disconnected from any sense of meaning or purpose beyond just trying to get through each day. And now here's the crucial insight. All of those physical symptoms, the diabetes, the kidney disease, the gut issues, they weren't just physical problems. They were the manifestation of decades of unprocessed trauma living in his body. His gut wasn't just inflamed from bad bacteria, it was inflamed because he'd been holding unexpressed rage and grief in his belly for 40 years. His blood sugar wasn't just dysregulated from poor diet, it was dysregulated because his nervous system was stuck in fight or flight from unresolved childhood trauma. And this is what I mean when I say we have to look at all 5 bodies. So here's what we did. Because James was on a huge list of medications that would have created herb interactions, we couldn't just throw tinctures at the problem and we had to get a little creative. So we focused on hands-off modalities that would help him process what his body had been holding. We started with rage writing to finally let himself feel and express the anger that he'd been suppressing his whole life. EFT tapping to work with anxiety and trauma patterns. Gentle nervous system regulation practices, working with his chart to understand his energetic patterns and begin to shift them. And you know what happened? His digestive issues, improved dramatically. Not because we added more probiotics or antifungal herbs, though we did some of that where we could, but because he started releasing what his gut had just been holding on to. His A1C dropped, his blood sugar stabilized, his sleep improved, and his anxiety decreased. By addressing the emotional, mental, energetic, and spiritual bodies, his physical body was able to begin healing. And this is what I see over and over again in my practice. The connection between trauma and physical illness is undeniable. You can eat the perfect diet. You can take all the right supplements, do all the lifestyle interventions. But if you're carrying unprocessed trauma, if you're spiritually exhausted at a soul level, if your energetic boundaries are demolished, you're running destructive mental patterns and suppressing your emotions, your body will keep manifesting symptoms because it's trying to get your attention. It's trying to tell you that there is something deeper that needs healing. The ruminating thoughts, the poor sleep, the pushing through. These aren't separate from your physical symptoms. They are a part of the same system. And when you only treat your physical body, you're essentially telling all those other parts of yourself to sit down and shut up. You're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. But when you address all five bodies simultaneously, that's when transformation happens. That's when people don't just manage symptoms, they're actually able to heal. Let me give you some more examples of how these bodies that we all have interconnect. Because once you start seeing the patterns, you can't unsee them. So when you have physical manifestations from your emotional body, these are going to look like things like unexpressed anger. It's living in your liver, showing up as headaches, hormonal imbalances, high blood pressure, unprocessed grief settling in your lungs, manifesting as asthma, chronic bronchitis, shallow breathing, suppressed fear held in your kidneys, creating lower back pain, adrenal fatigue, reproductive issues. Those are all your emotional body affecting the physical. Now, the mental affecting the physical would be things like perfectionist thought patterns, creating chronic muscle tension and TMJ, catastrophic thinking, keeping your nervous system in fight or flight and leading to digestive shutdown and immune suppression. Belief systems like I'm not worthy of health, actually sabotaging your healing efforts at a subconscious level. Now, the energetic body, when that shows up in the physical, so you've got maybe weak boundaries leading to autoimmune conditions. Your body is literally attacking itself because it can't tell self from other. Blocked solar plexus chakra, manifesting as digestive issues, blood sugar regulation, metabolism problems, energetic depletion from constantly giving to others, showing up as chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep or supplements will fix. Spiritual disconnect, creating everything else. Soul exhaustion that looks like depression but it doesn't respond to antidepressants. Living out of alignment with your purpose, creating a cascade of stress that manifests physically. Ancestral trauma patterns you're unconsciously repeating until you bring them to consciousness and are actually able to heal them. And that's the beautiful thing that I found with this framework is when you shift one body, the others begin to shift too. When James started releasing his rage through writing, his gut inflammation decreased. When he learned to set energetic boundaries, his anxiety lessened. When he began to understand the spiritual dimension of his healing journey, he found motivation and hope that had been missing. Healing becomes exponential instead of linear. And this is why the five bodies framework that I offer is 54 plus pages, because we need to see all of it. We need to map the terrain of all five bodies so we know exactly where the imbalances are and how they're connected. And then we can create a protocol that's truly holistic, not just natural medicine, but whole person medicine that addresses you as the complex, multidimensional being that you are. And I want to speak directly to those of you that are watching this who feel like you're beyond healing. Maybe you've tried everything. You've seen doctor after doctor, practitioner after practitioner. You've spent thousands of dollars on supplements and treatments. You've changed your diet. You've done the protocols. You've followed all the advice, and you're still sick, and you're still suffering, and you're still struggling. And maybe in your darkest moments, you've started to believe that this is just how it's going to be. That is that your body's broken and beyond repair. That you're the one exception, the one person who nothing works for. And I know that place. I've been in that desolation. I know what it feels to look at your physical body, your avatar in this world, and feel like it's failing you, like it's beyond help, like you're trapped in this vessel that will never be well. And it's demoralizing in a way that's not just hard to put into words, because it's not just physical suffering. It's a loss of hope. And it's the grief of believing that you're never going to feel good again. And I'm here to tell you, you're not broken and you're not beyond healing. This is what I've learned from both my own journey and from working with people just like you. Sometimes we're looking for healing in the wrong body. You've been treating your physical symptoms, and that's important. That matters. And we do absolutely need to address the physical. But what if the root of your suffering isn't primarily physical at all? What if your body is manifesting symptoms because your emotional body is carrying trauma it was never taught how to process? What if you're exhausted because your energetic body has no boundaries and you're literally just giving your life force away to everyone around you? What if you can't heal because your mental body is running a subconscious program that says, I don't deserve to be well or feel well? What if your chronic illness is actually your spiritual body screaming that you're living a life completely disconnected from your soul's purpose? When we only look at the physical body, we miss the whole story. And that is why nothing has worked so far. Not because you're broken, not because you're beyond healing, but because you've been trying to fix the symptom without addressing the root cause. James Decline, I told you about, when he came to me, he felt hopeless. His body was falling apart despite doing everything right. The surgery that was supposed to help made things worse. But when we looked at all five bodies, when we started addressing the trauma and the unprocessed emotions and the mental patterns, the energetic depletion and the spiritual disconnection, that's when healing actually became possible. Not overnight, not in some miraculous instant transformation, but steadily, consistently, and deeply doing the work. His body started responding because we were finally addressing what it had been trying to tell him all along. And the same is possible for you. Whatever you're dealing with, whether it be chronic pain, autoimmune disease, digestive disorders, hormonal chaos, mental health struggles, mystery symptoms that no one can explain, there's always a deeper story. Your body is not the enemy, and your body is not failing you. It's speaking to you. And the five bodies framework gives us a language to finally be able to understand what it's saying. When I work with someone who's in this framework, we're not just treating symptoms. We're deeply listening. We're investigating, and we're honoring the fact that you are so much more than just a meat suit with broken parts. You're a complex, beautiful, multidimensional being. And true healing happens when we address all of you, not just the parts that modern medicine knows how to measure. And this is the work that I've dedicated my life to. This fusion of herbalism with wisdom traditions, the ancestral knowledge that understood we are a body and a spirit, matter and energy, human and divine. And this is what I mean when I say food and plant medicine should be our first line of intervention, because plants work on all 5 bodies simultaneously. They're not just chemicals affecting physical receptors. They're intelligent beings that can speak to your emotional wounds, your energetic blockages, your spiritual disconnection. We have to ask the right questions first. We have to see the whole picture. So here's what I want you to take from this video. Number 1, your symptoms are information. They are not a life sentence. They are your body's way of trying to communicate something deeper. Know that and trust that. Number 2, if nothing has worked so far, it doesn't mean that you're unfixable. It means that you haven't yet addressed the right body, or more likely, the right combination of bodies. Number 3, healing is possible, but it requires looking at yourself through a different lens. Not just a physical body that's broken, but a whole being with physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual dimensions that are all crying out to be seen and healed. Number 4, you don't have to do this by yourself. This is complex work, and it requires someone who can hold space for all 5 bodies, who can see the patterns and the connections, who can guide you through addressing all the layers. That's what the 5 bodies assessment is designed to do, to map your entire terrain so we can create a healing protocol that actually addresses the root, not just the symptoms. In my next videos, I am going to break down each of these 5 bodies in extreme detail. We're going to go deep into the physical, the mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual bodies so that you can start to understand where your imbalances might be living. If this framework resonates with you, if something in your soul just said, yes, this is what I've been missing, then subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because we're just getting started. This is the beginning of a very different conversation about health and healing, one that honors all of who you are. And for those of you who feel hopeless right now and who feel like you're beyond help, I see you. I've been you. And I promise you, there is a path forward. Your body wants to heal. It's designed to heal, but it needs all 5 bodies working together to do it. Welcome to a new way of seeing yourself. Welcome to the 5 bodies framework. May you find healing in all 5 bodies. May you remember that you are whole, even in your brokenness. And may you discover the courage to look deeper than just physical symptoms. Blessed be. I'm Danielle from Gaia Sanctorum, and I'll see you in the next video.